Happy Thursday, Happy New Year, and welcome to another edition of Husker Online Headlines. Sean Callahan, Steve Sipple. This will be our last week, Sip.
It might be your last week alive by the sound of things.
Hey, I'm a battler. I got the tea.
You got the tea.
The water.
The tea does, what does the tea do?
Well, honey and tea kind of loosens up your throat.
Okay, I've never tried that, but I'm not saying it won't work.
Oh, it does.
That's it?
It's an old Adrian Fiala. Adrian Fiala taught me that years ago.
Honey and tea.
Yep.
So you're battling some sort of.
Well, it goes back to our trip from New York. You know, we left at 3 a.m. to fly back, and
out of Newark,
there was literally a huge party that went on next to my room all night. So I didn't sleep. And here we are now.
You just you just got a bad draw in your hotel room. It happens. It's weird. What time did we, you would have had to change. Well, you could have changed the hotel room.
No, but hey, just give me another couple days. I'll be all right. And I'm fine. I mean, I can do the show.
All right.
Let's get into headline number 1.
All right.
So portal visits have ramped back up for Nebraska. As you know, the Huskers right now today, they have 2 visitors that arrived today. TJ Lindsey from Auburn, but the latest that we reported on Husker Online here Thursday morning, Jalen Davies, a defensive back from UCLA, is here right now on a visit. And you know, he's got 1 year of eligibility. He's played in 40 games for the Bruins. He started his career at Oregon. A defensive lineman, a defensive back that are here. And then, you know, later in the week, you're going to see Nebraska potentially bring in Corey Gordon, another defensive back safety from Baylor. And then Joshua Donald, we've confirmed him at on 3, a nose tackle from Appalachian State, has reported he'll be here January 6th.
And then, then they still have the Washington State offensive lineman. People are going to ask you, wait a second, where's the offensive lineman? They have this Washington State kid whose name I can't even begin to try to pronounce. He's on the hook. I mean, it's between Nebraska and Michigan.
Now Wake Forest is in the picture, though. He's visiting Wake Forest now this week.
Oh, so we probably aren't going to get a
answer
decision until maybe the weekend.
So the Washington State staff was out, and his O-line coach at Washington State landed at Wake Forest.
Okay.
So there you go.
Ooh, interesting. All right. So back to the recent news. Okay, the TJ Lindsey is a young guy. I mean, he redshirted this year. His first. Tell me if I'm wrong. This is the way I read it. He redshirted at Auburn this season, which was his first season of college football. So he's a young guy. Has a lot probably of developing to do. He played played 1 game at Auburn. So that's one to watch. And this looks like Sean, does this look like a true nose to you?
TJ Lindsey?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Okay.
At that 6'3", he was 6'3", 270 on his profile. How big is he now? I don't know.
Okay. We listed him in your story at 320.
TJ Lindsey?
Maybe not. That was
you're thinking of the Appalachian State.
Oh, okay. He's a true nose. All right. I'm
getting
mixed up.
That's Joshua Donald.
There's a lot of names
and he's 6'1", 320.
Yeah. I'm sorry, Sean. He's the true nose. So Lindsey, the kid from Appalachian State, defensive tackles, and then you have this player from UCLA who's experienced. His Pro Football Focus grades are good. Solid. Yeah.
Jalen Davies.
And I mean, Nebraska's losing Isaac Gifford and Deshaun Singleton. They're starting safeties. So there's young guys in the program that have a shot. But this is what happens. This is very interesting. It's a very interesting world. If you can go get an experienced player, I guess you try it, right?
And so Nebraska in the secondary, they've already signed Andrew Marshall, a corner and a return man from Idaho. And he was the only corner that made all Big Sky Conference. The other 3 DBs were safeties. Justin Rhett is a safety from Georgia. Well, they're bringing in the corner, as we just mentioned, Jalen Davies.
Oh, okay. We're off to a rough start here, or I am. Davies is not a safety. He's a corner.
Correct.
Oh, good God. Okay.
Way to research and read my article.
I read it. I just must have read it wrong.
Yeah, he's a corner. And then the Baylor player, Corey Gordon, that
Safety.
could come in later. He's visited Alabama already. He's a safety.
He's a safety. Okay.
So there's a possibility of 2 corners, 2 safeties from the portal. And they return 3 players, that have starting experience on the back end. So the thing about the portal now is
what?
It's a business.
Really is. Well, it underscores that line of thinking that this is a business. It is really an interesting business. And it's the other interesting part of this is it's like it just never stops. I don't know how these coaches do it. They get back from the bowl and here comes a bunch of players on campus.
Like we have 3 weeks of this.
Right. I didn't envision it starting yesterday, and you were up writing this stuff. It's just amazing. On January 1, on New Year's Day.
Yeah, they got to commit from the portal. We'll get to that next. And then they're bringing in all these visitors right away, which portal visitors are allowed to start taking visits January 1 because of the class clock. They have to get somewhere to begin classes.
You have to have – now, correct me if I'm wrong. I could be wrong. With these guys coming in today, there's guys on campus today, Thursday.
Arriving today, yes.
You have to have your entire operation pretty much running today, right?
Yeah, and I would imagine tomorrow will be kind of like the heavy visit day. Like today might be just the arrival day.
But somebody's got to be over there.
For sure. Oh, yeah. I mean
probably a lot of people.
And they put them up downtown, obviously. But yeah, these are as much business trips. But it makes you wonder about John Butler, what he's looking for on the back end. And
he's looking for improvement.
One of our astute posters on a Red Sea Scroll said, it feels like Butler likes a longer, bigger, more developed guy, where Evan Cooper previously, and even Tony White, they like to find like the Jeremiah Charles guys that they could try to develop.
Yeah.
And
Jeremiah Charles has some length, though.
Has length, but he played 1 year of high school football.
Right.
So, but he had good athletic traits, where I think Butler's like, yeah, we're not, you don't have time to develop anymore.
And there is the interesting part of the conversation. I'd like to ask Matt Rule that. Do you feel like you have time to develop?
You do to an extent, but there's places you can get away. Like Iowa can get away with it because their fan base understands that's what their program is. They don't try, like at Nebraska, you have to develop and recruit top 20 classes. Because the pressure of the program demands that.
There you go.
Like Rick Kaczynski told me that once years ago. He said the difference between Nebraska and Iowa is at Nebraska, you feel like you have to swing for the fence on every single roster acquisition. Where at Iowa, the fans were okay with you bringing into some small town Iowa kid and then developing him. And then they end up being a pro.
Sometimes. It's an interesting conversation. There are instances you'll find of players who will still develop as they go through the program and then, hit their peak later. But yeah, I think you're going to see that less and less often.
Like Sam Laporte is a great example. He was gift wrapped to go to Nebraska by Tanner Farmer's family. He went to high school with Farmer. So Brian Farmer, they brought him to camp to Nebraska. They brought him here twice. He tested out well, did well. He's the best tight end in the NFL right now.
And he was
210 pounds.
Okay.
6'4".
Where are you going with this? This is interesting.
Nobody offered him other than the MAC schools. Like he was going to go to the MAC. And then Iowa just comes in, offers him. And he ends up being the best tight end in the NFL. But they saw through the trees, like, yeah, we can get 30 pounds on this guy. He runs 4.6. He's got a 36-inch vertical. It might have been 37. He broad jumps 10+ feet. We could develop this guy.
Can't you do that at Nebraska?
You should be able to.
It's a great example. But Laporta was an incredible tight end
and
at Iowa.
Laporta didn't have any other major offers other than Iowa.
That's remarkable.
It's
a remarkable recruiting story. There's a lot like that. That's a great example, though.
It was the Mike Riley staff, by the way. It wasn't the Frost staff. Like they had Laporta at camp twice.
and just decided no go.
Once in Lincoln, once in St. Louis.
Undersized, they probably said. Laporta was such a good athlete that at the end of his career at Iowa, he was the third string quarterback for the bowl game.
And he played split end.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, he played. Yeah. I mean, they were down receivers, so he had to play receiver too as a big.
All right. Before we go to headline number 2, Mr. Stephen M. Sipple, HuskerOnline Headlines is brought to you by who?
Oh, Sean. Jeez. Larson Motors. Give me a second here, Sean.
You're never prepared for this transition.
I am prepared.
I'm glad we're not on a 4x1 relay team together.
Larson Motors. If you're looking for a new vehicle, go for a new experience at Larson Motors in Nebraska City. I can't emphasize this enough. It's one of the Midwest's only dealerships with all the major brands in one location. You should be able to recite them by now. Chevrolet, GMC, Hummer, Ford, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, or Ram. Getting one of these vehicles has never been easier. So start your new experience today at LarsonMotorGroup.com. Larson with an O, motorgroup.com, or at Larson Motors in Nebraska City. Larson Motors, real people,
real deals, Mr. Sipple.
Yeah, this is a good time to go get it. It's always a good time to get it. I mean, how exciting. When you get a new car, it's an exciting time.
Well, the 25s are coming out now. I was just on the phone with Koppel, who I work with, our other proud partner Chevrolet dealer, and the 25s. I mean, there's hot demand for these 25 models.
This is a good time to look into it.
Get in, call your favorite dealer, and get it all figured out. But
yeah, Larson Motors.
Let's get into headline number 2. Nebraska lands another critical piece for 2025. Wide receiver Hardley Gilmore, who began his Kentucky career as a 16-year-old, gave up his senior year of high school, was an early enrollee that reclassified.
In Belglade, Florida.
Which it's in the smack dab middle of Florida, right by that lake, the big lake in the middle of Florida.
Don't know what that lake is.
Well, Acapachi.
Okay.
But it's a huge lake, and it's kind of, I mean, he's an hour from West Palm Beach, but it's kind of a desolate area, but he was highly recruited in high school. He had every offer: Georgia, Alabama, Michigan,
Tennessee,
Penn State.
All of them,
everyone. So highly regarded, and then Kentucky got him to enroll and reclassify. Played as a true freshman the final 7 games of this year, was injured the first 5 games.
Right away, slow down. He played as a true freshman in the SEC.
As a 16-year-old.
This is a great pickup. It's a pickup that caught us a bit by surprise?
Yeah, because there was a narrative out there by our Kentucky colleagues and on site, KSR, not their staff, but their posters, that Dykeel Shorts maybe didn't have the best relationship with his wide receiver room, and he was going to have a hard time getting these guys. Well, he's got 2 of them, and five of the receivers at Kentucky have gone in the portal. 2 to Nebraska, 1 to LSU, 1's gone to Hawaii, another 1 remains in the portal.
So Gilmore joins Dane Key. Dane Key was the first Kentucky receiver to come here. Now is a different conversation because Dane Key is going to be a senior. He's got 1 year left, and he's big time proven receiver. Gilmore caught 6 balls, like you said. I watched his high school huddle tape. Yeah, they got one.
He's a long strider too. Like his track combination. I mean, he was like a 22.6 long jumper as a junior.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went 50 seconds in the 400. Then he ran this freaked me out. He was a 158 guy in the 800. Like, how many football dudes in your lifetime ran the 800?
Not many.
I mean, because that's a tough race.
Now I don't know that he would do this here. He returned punts in high school, and that looked good. What really stands out about him in my mind is he makes tough catches and then can take a hit and keep his feet. What I'm telling you is he's a very tough receiver. He's not a prima donna receiver. He's not pretty. I mean, he's pretty, but he's gritty. He's pretty and gritty. This is a dude. I would not be surprised if he's in the starting lineup in Arrowhead. Would not surprise me. I'm not saying he will be, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's in the starting lineup in Arrowhead.
There's some that think he's every bit as good or better than Dane Key.
Well, it doesn't surprise me after watching him. They got one here. I mean, he's there. Listen, I guess the best way to put it without angering Nebraska coaches with my sort of hyperbole on this guy or other guys. He's going to be one of their, he's going to be in the rotation and he'll compete for a starting job. That's the best way to put it. He'll be in the rotation and he'll compete for a starting job.
Yeah, quite an ad here. And Kentucky did not want to lose him. They were fighting hard to keep him, which tells you the commitment Nebraska has with their NIL to load this thing up for Dylan Raiola and Dana Holgorsen.
I wonder, just throwing this out there for the sake of conversation, I wonder if this is Nebraska saying, okay, you came and got our running back. We're going to come and get somebody.
You overpaid for our running back.
Yeah, I don't know if that's what happened, but
they did. I mean, he left for money.
Dante did. But I wonder if Nebraska said, okay, we're going to come and get a receiver. Another one.
And you know guys from Youngstown, Cardinal Mooney, very well.
Yeah.
I do too.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how Mark Stoops was because
you can imagine.
Well, he was pretty upset when Dykeel Shorts left for Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. Now he took his two maybe best receivers.
And he made Nebraska, they had to pay the buyout. It was a huge buyout, but Nebraska didn't care because Tony White had a huge buyout that Florida State had to pay. So it all worked itself out.
Thank you to Megan for putting this film up, this video, because you're going to see right here him take a hit. There you go, Sean. There's a good example. You see that? Hit over the middle. He takes a hit and keeps his feet. He's a tough, and you see him make, this is an easy catch, but you see him make a lot of tough catches, and he is a very good run after the catch guy.
Now,
very good.
This is not high-level Florida football. I'll just say that right now.
Like you can tell.
You just look at this lineman size. It's not like the top level.
No.
But he's making it look like it should look.
Look at that. Oh, yes. So, yeah, this is a good pickup. And he'll be in the mix. You didn't bring him here to not be in the mix.
Well, and a lot of fans get emotional about losing Davon Hall, Isaiah McMorris, Malachi Coleman, Jalen Lloyd, 4 in-state guys. This is what they're replacing with.
The room needed to be upgraded. I mean,
they gave it a try for 2 years that way. It didn't work very well.
The room needed it to be upgraded. I think you would say, Sean, that Dana Holgorsen came in and saw that. By the way they immediately have gone after these guys, Isaiah Hunter, Dane Key, and Hardley Gilmore. I mean, I'm not talking out of turn here. I mean, look what happened. He came in, and all of a sudden, they went and got 3 guys that are probably starter level players. That's a coach identifying. Oh God,
and Cortez Mills.
Well,
and the guy from Kentucky,
Dane Key.
No, the high school player from Kentucky. Now I'm blanking on his name. Murray. He's from Murray, Kentucky. Now I'm blanking. I need to pull this.
Jeremiah Jones.
I mean, we forget about Jeremiah Jones.
I don't forget about him. He's probably a guy that's going to compete for time too. What is he? 6'5"? 215?
They've emptied out that room.
I know.
Other than Ja'Cory Barney.
What's it tell you? They needed to upgrade. It needed to be upgraded.
There's Jeremiah Jones. But all right, let's go to headline number 3. Former Husker Cam Jurgens named a NFL Pro Bowler. And wow, what a story this has been. Let's go back to 2018 when Cam Jurgens first got here. He was a tight end. I watched him catch tight end passes back when I worked for Rivals. We had him at the Rivals 5-Star Challenge, and he was catching. Who's the quarterback for the Jaguars? That played at Clemson. He was catching passes from him.
I'm not gonna help you with that one. Okay, so and then what happened? Who decided? Nope, you're going to be a center. Who decided that? Scott Frost.
Trevor Lawrence, by the way. I don't know why I lost track of it. Yeah, Scott Frost saw him and recognized that, hey, he could play tight end. He's an elite athlete. We're moving him to center. And he hurt his foot. So 2018 was a wash. And then they threw him out there to start 2019. They really believed in him in 2019. And think about how rough 2019 was for him, though, that year, the snap issues he had.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really rough. But, I mean, he weathered that storm. And now what's happened is really interesting. It's really interesting. He replaced Jason Kelce, who's a legend. And now for the 8th time since 2014, the Eagles have a Pro Bowl center. 7 of those were obviously Jason Kelce. But Jurgens, you remember, was what you would call the hand-picked successor to Jason Kelce. 2nd-round draft pick. It was you covered the draft that year. I covered the draft that year. And that's what the Eagles were saying. This is we are drafting Jurgens to be Kelce's successor. It's worked out fabulously. Jurgens played guard last year. Started as a right guard last year. Then this year moved into center. And what happens? The Eagles win 13. They've won 13. They're 13-3. One meaningless game left. Saquon Barkley has rushed for 2,005 yards. It is the number 1 offense in the NFL. It's the number 6 offense in the NFL, but the number 1 rushing offense. So how do you think Cam's played? Probably incredibly well. If you just zoom out and look at the big picture, number 1 rushing offense in the NFL, number 6 overall offense, 13-3 right now. I mean, he's obviously playing at a high level. By the way, he's one of 3 Eagles offensive linemen on the Pro Bowl team. I mean, what kind of offensive line must that be?
Well, you go back to him as a high school athlete. He was so elite. I mean, you could see.
You watched him. What was elite?
Well, at Beatrice, I'll never forget. We do our in-state tour, and back then I would go to all the schools and meet with the coaches. And I had a coach friend in Wyoming who's now the O-line coach for the Tennessee Titans, Scott Fuchs. He works under Bill Callahan there, but he was with the Lance Leipold at Kansas. And he's like, yeah, have you been down to Beatrice yet and seen that kid? He goes, we're not even going to try to recruit him because he's a Husker type guy for sure. And he was talking about a freshman version of Cam Jurgens.
A freshman. A high school freshman.
And so as a high school freshman, Cam Jurgens started varsity football, started varsity basketball for Jim Weeks at Beatrice. And then he was a 4-time shot put gold medalist and a 3-time discus. And he played tight end. Even as a senior, he played some running back as a senior, but he broke his leg as a senior late in the year. And this is how tough he is. The bone, he could see the bone sticking out of his leg, and he sat on like a bed that they had on the sidelines, and he watched the rest of the game.
Yeah, he's ridiculously tough.
And he's looking at his leg bone.
Yeah, that's enough.
And then
can't handle that.
He comes back. They clear him for his mom, Beth, who was a longtime first grade teacher in the Beatrice community. His father's a farmer, so he's got just like a traditional Nebraskan background. He gets cleared 3 days before state districts to throw shot. And his mom really wanted to coach him one more time, and she convinces him to throw. He wins discus and shot put with basically 3 days practice.
That's what you call freak athlete, and freak athletes become NFL players, and the freakiest of the freaks become Pro Bowlers.
That's like Tom Kropp type stuff.
Or better, because Kropp never was an All-NBA player. Jurgens is already ascending towards one of the best linemen in the NFL. But I'm not terribly surprised, because what Frost used to say about his explosion, and you used to see it, you could see it if you watched the lineman carefully. He got to the second level faster than anybody, and they would pull him as a center. I mean, he was a pulling center, which is not easy.
Well, the Oklahoma game in Norman, when they played Lincoln Riley, I remember how good he looked that day, and they penalized him for like hitting a guy too hard. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Like he pushed a guy like 20 yards down the field.
That's right.
And they threw a flag because they called it like excessive contact or something.
That's right. I do remember that. It was odd. Yeah, Now he overcame the snap problems, but his explosion and athleticism is what defined him in my eyes. And then going in and replacing a legend, not easy to do. I mean, there's going to be inevitable comparisons, but what I've read is he just kept it very simple. I'm going to do my job. I'm going to do the best of my ability, and people can make the comparisons, but whatever.
Is it safe to say after the 2009 Sue and 11 Levante David that he's probably the best Husker now in the NFL? Like after those two guys,
I'd say off the cuff, yeah.
Because like Amir and Rex have had good careers.
They have,
but they were never all pro.
No.
But
I don't think was Rex ever.
No, God, no. I mean, he was an all.
I was thinking special teams,
not all pro. No. I mean, you got to understand, like, you got to be pretty special to be Pro Bowl.
Okay.
And I should say Pro Bowl or not all, because Cam is not an all pro. He's Pro Bowl.
Pro Bowl, yeah.
But you think about that, him making the Pro Bowl and Nebraska football really getting no benefits from having players like that. That's the last 10 years in a nutshell. They've had a lot of talent, draftable players, guys that are playing in the league, Wan'Dale Robinson, Luke McCaffrey, Cam Jurgens, Jack Stahl. I mean, you go down the line. I mean, they've had a lot of guys that were good players.
Mm-hmm. Didn't get enough out of them.
And they didn't develop and maximize Adrian Martinez.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I wish I could push back. I don't.
You're trying.
I'm trying.
But
I don't want to make it sound like Nebraska's had Ohio State talent.
But they've had enough where they should have been better than what they were.
They should have had some over 500 seasons in there.
8-win years. 9. I mean, even 9. I mean, they had enough.
9. Yeah.
Like 2019 was a 9-win team.
And what'd they finish?
5-7.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they fell apart. They lost to Indiana. They lost to Purdue.
Yeah, there's better talent than 5 wins on that team. I'll say that.
Oh, yeah. And Iowa's beat them every year in a lot of cases where they've been outplayed by Nebraska.
So, yeah, congratulations is in order.
What a story. And we see the Jurgens family a lot when we go to Beatrice. They come to or did they come to yours?
Sure they did. To the speeches at the country club?
Yep.
Yes.
Now, they travel to every game, a lot of the games.
Yes, they did. They don't now.
No,
they travel to Philadelphia.
Yeah, they go to all the Eagles stuff. I mean, they post a lot from the games, but yeah, it's a great story of a local player. Congrats to Cam Jurgens. Let's go to headline 4. The Big Ten flexes in bowl season, and we're talking about Ohio State with their big win over Tennessee, and now Oregon, Nebraska over Boston College, Illinois over South Carolina. You had Michigan over Alabama, USC over Texas A&M.
Wow, those are good wins.
You've had some really, really good. Now, Rutgers should have beat Kansas State. They blew that. They had a 17-point lead, but Rutgers did not have Kyle Monungai. Kansas State was playing with everybody.
The biggest flex, of course, is by Ohio State, which now is, I would say, most people would say they're the clear-cut favorite to win it all now. After hammering Tennessee and then scoring 34 points in the first half against Oregon and winning 41-21. That's the biggest flex. And by the way, those talking heads on ESPN are saying Jeremiah Smith, if he were eligible for the NFL draft, would be the number 1 pick. Easily the number 1.
He's got to play one more year still, right?
Yeah, the number. I mean, if you watched yesterday, he was they didn't have a prayer against him. I mean, it was real. He's really a special.
He's done that to everyone all year.
Yeah,
I mean, they played probably one of their worst games of the year against Nebraska, and he single-handedly won them the game.
Yeah, he's a special player. Now, Ohio State's just ramped it up, I just think it's one easy way to explain it. It's a classic example of when you have that talented of a roster and then you put a chip on their shoulder, then they get really dangerous. I mean, and that's what's happened. They have a chip on their shoulder. They have this motivating factor of all the heat they took after losing to Michigan and all the directives toward their head coach that, people wanted him fired, all that vitriol. They've used it as fuel, and it's jet fuel. If you saw that run right there, God, Megan does a good job. That run by say his name, Sean.
Travion Henderson.
Travion Henderson. That was a show of explosion. I mean, it was like, whoa. It was like he was shot out of a
How did
cannon.
Nebraska hold that team to 21 points?
I think you got to look at their play calling, number one. They were very conservative. I don't know what Chip was doing, playing with his food. I don't know, because now Chip Kelly has out-schemed Tennessee and Oregon. It's almost embarrassing for Tennessee
As he
and Oregon.
should.
Well,
I mean, he's Chip freaking Kelly. Like, he evolutionized a lot of the things people are doing, and he's been a pro head coach. I mean, he's way more qualified than a lot of the guys on the entire staff everywhere.
well, yeah, he's doing it, so I give him credit.
Well, and when people start saying you suck and you're not doing a good job, I'd be pissed too.
You turn it up, and I think they've turned it up. I've just been struck how badly Tennessee and Oregon was out schemed. How does Jeremiah Smith get that open where he's waiting for 2 seconds for a touchdown pass to come?
Free release. That's what happens.
Yeah.
Like when you put him in motion and he runs free, when he if
Good point.
I mean, if he gets a free release, it's over.
It's over.
He got him against Nebraska.
He doesn't need a free release, but if
like
he
people
gets
were
it,
tough on Isaac Gifford in that game. No one's guarding that guy.
he just ran by Gifford, but he runs by everybody. I mean, he's 6'3", 225, and maybe the fastest guy in the field. Now, yesterday, I don't know that, but oftentimes if he's not, he's close, and he's 6'3", 225. Okay, what do I like? Big receivers, big
fast.
defensive backs, big long defensive backs, big receivers. That's why I like them.
Boy, for Ryan Day though, if they can pull this thing out and win the whole thing, it's going to be hard for him not to just start calling out people.
No, it's not about. Yeah, I mean, we'll see now.
What do you think about that, Shannon?
Right,
Shannon Sharp.
Yeah, that
Stephen A.
Hopefully he doesn't, but
Yeah,
he
my
would have the right
experience is
to.
those things don't go well
Yeah, he doesn't need to do
because
that.
the people with the microphone always get the last word.
Just let the play do the talking, and that's what they're doing right now. Let your play do the talking.
Well, how about Illinois beating South Carolina? South Carolina was considered to be a playoff team.
That was a whoa. That's a great win. That was a great win. And then they had the controversy, which is sort of hard to explain.
So what happened, like when there's a touchback on a kickoff, the universal sign is you put your arms out like this.
It's a universal sign, but it's not a rule.
Not a rule. So then it kind of tells everyone to let off. There's going to be no collision.
Okay.
They showed that. And then
South Carolina did.
Yeah. And then they ran a trick play off it.
Right.
And then a guy got hurt, I believe, on that play.
Yes. And Bielema thought it was a Bush League fake play. And he did that motion toward their sideline. The head coach for South Carolina, Beamer, took it personally. Bielema said, no, I wasn't directing it towards him. Bielema, in sort of a badass move, said, I was directing it toward their entire sideline.
They should have let Shane Beamer go at Bielema because that wouldn't have ended very pretty for him.
Listen to you, the Big Ten honk.
Well, okay. Do you think Shane Beamer would last 10 seconds against Brett Bielema?
I'm not gonna handicap a fight between two coaches.
Brett Bielema is a defensive lineman. I mean, he's huge.
Okay. Bielema, I think, comes out looking better in this whole thing than I'll say that. Bielema explained it very well. He explained the situation very well in a diplomatic tone. He was diplomatic about it. And he said, I wasn't directing that airplane move toward Beamer. I was doing it toward the sideline. But I thought Beamer came off bad in this. And great win for Illinois.
How about the substitutions too? Like, so South Carolina kept doing late subs. So the defense is able to match. And they give you time to match. So Bielema was just loading out players late, and it was causing South Carolina to get penalties or call timeouts a couple times. And it was,
hey, Bielema, his mind is good. I mean, he's a great football mind. You don't want, and look what they did. That's a 10-win team, Illinois. Like he did what good coaches do, what great coaches do. He squeezed all he could out of that team.
You wonder how much Wisconsin fans miss him now.
Oh, God, good point.
And he was not run out of Wisconsin. He left Wisconsin after winning the Big Ten, but it was a bad breakup.
They miss him. They miss him. There's no doubt about that. They miss Chris, right? Paul Christ.
Oh, they've lost a lot of their players to the portal. Will Pauling, Tyree Walker.
Wouldn't you say they miss Paul Christ?
Oh, he wasn't fancy enough.
Right.
Like, it's going to end badly there. Do
you think so?
Do you really
for Fickle
think Luke Fickle is going to pull
out of
this?
Doesn't seem like it.
They have the hardest schedule.
It's always interesting. I always looked at Frost this way. Like, can you pull that helicopter out of the tailspin? Can you pull that airplane out of a tailspin? Because it's right now, Fickle's plane is headed toward the ground.
So next year, Fickle basically has the 2021 Nebraska type schedule. The 21 Nebraska schedule
is horrifying.
The 2021 Nebraska schedule was a schedule that was meant to get you fired.
And so is their 2025 schedule. He has a plane that's in a tailspin, and can he pull it out? Can he pull it out of the tailspin?
And they play like 4 playoff level teams, like 4 straight weeks.
The schedule is, you almost look at it, and here it is. Look at Megan.
Alabama. Okay. It picks up after Maryland. Now here you go. Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, Oregon.
You just look at it and laugh. Like,
Washington,
you got to be kidding me.
Indiana. Who knows? Illinois.
And your rival, and a good rival. That is, I think if you're Fickle, you just better have a sense of humor. That's hilarious. There's nothing that will be easy in those last 9 games.
Well, and then to lose to Nebraska in the way they did this year, that's never happened in Nebraska's 14-year history of the Big Ten,
right,
where they've beaten Wisconsin like that.
No, I know. Oh, yeah, he's in trouble. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, and how about Michigan, though? Alabama
turns it over 3 times in the first 10 plays. But Michigan, you knew they always play good defense. It was going to be tough for Alabama, which somehow was a 16.5-point favorite. Now, I got hindsight on my side here, so I don't want to be too obnoxious. But I said on my radio show, somebody asked me, what do you think the line is? And I said 7, probably 7. Alabama should be about a 7-point favorite. No, Sip, it's 16.5. I about fell off my chair. I said, that's way too, I did. This is live. I said that's way too high. Now, I didn't know that Michigan would beat them, but never did I think Alabama would win that game by 16.5. Michigan wins the game. Great win by Michigan. Michigan topples 2 powers. I mean, just 2 monster powers.
Their whole offseason's changed.
Oh, God, yes.
They bring in Bryce Underwood.
Yeah, QB.
Number 1 player in the country.
Oh, it's changed dramatically. I mean, Sharon Moore. Then, on the other hand, you look at Kalen DeBoer. Alabama finished 9-4. And he looked rattled on the sideline during the Michigan
game. He had like a Frank Solich 98 season.
Yeah. Yeah. He did.
Frank went 9-4 that year too.
Yeah, 9-4. It didn't seem like it was as hot for Frank, though.
No, but Nebraska had never lost 4 games in a year, except early in the Devaney era.
It seems like it's hotter for DeBoer.
Oh yeah, but for Frank though to start out 9-4 with a talented, they had injuries that year, but they had a roster that was good enough to win the title.
Wouldn't you say that Frank benefited from being the hand-picked successor, the in-house guy, and DeBoer's an outside guy?
The problem with all the guys that could have been the hand-picked successors, they all got jobs. Lane Kiffin, Dan Lanning.
Oh, in this case.
Yeah. Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah.
All the people, Kirby Smart, all the people that were
got jobs.
Saban's guys, they
Good
were
jobs.
already so what should have been his successors, and they had to go. And look, I think DeBoer is a great coach. I really do.
Still?
Yes. He's in a tough situation. He's also never had a job like this where you get access to the players he does.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
see. I don't know. 9-4 is 9-4. They didn't look like a great team.
They were 1 win away from making the playoffs.
1 big win away.
Vanderbilt.
Right.
Or Oklahoma.
Yeah, I'm not anti DeBoer, but I don't know. I'm going to see what next year looks like before I start saying great coach.
Hey, Iowa almost beat Missouri too. That was, they had the ball late and they got stuffed on a quarterback sneak, which Iowa's great in those plays. Otherwise, I believe they would have tied it at least.
Yeah, they're down 3.
So they would have at least got a shot at a field goal, if not win it. But that's not surprising. Ferentz teams take bowls very seriously.
Yes, they do. So yeah, the Big Ten, very impressive, and again led by the Buckeyes. But Michigan, the Michigan win was exceptional. I mean, it was exceptional. So good job by the Big Ten. And listen, we hadn't even mentioned Penn State, which has a great. I mean, we could be headed towards Penn State, Ohio State in the final. I mean, it's very possible that could be the final two teams.
God, Penn State looked so physical.
Yes, they do. They do.
And they're is it Warren? They're tight end.
Yeah, Tyler Warren is excellent. But think what they did to Ashton Genty. Held him to 104. 104 is not terrible, but they bottled him.
Ty Warren will be like a top 10 pick. He has to be.
They're tight end. Yeah. Yeah, I think so. Looks the first round, no matter what.
I'd be shocked if he went late first round.
Yeah,
he's too good.
Yeah, he's an animal at tight end. He's a difference making tight end. Somebody on the radio asked me today, is that your vision for Heinrich Haarberg? I don't know that. Like you're getting a little ahead of yourself with that conversation, but I've been saying Haarberg for Nebraska at tight end is going to be a weapon that teams are going to have to deal with.
I'll say this: I would take Warren over almost all the Iowa tight ends we saw over the years.
I don't, Sean. Now I can comment on that. I've watched these tight ends closely. Not by a long shot, though. I wouldn't say that definitively. You might have a little recency bias here.
Well, he's got 98 catches.
I know he's got
for 1,158 yards, 8 touchdowns. He has 4 rushing touchdowns.
Oh, he's good.
Like
he's good. He's really good.
He's impacted the game. Iowa tight ends were good, but he's impacted the games a lot more than they did.
They weren't good. They were great.
They're great.
Yeah,
but he has impacted games way more than they did. You're telling me you watch Sam Laporta?
I don't know that I would take Warren over Laporta. You just got done saying earlier that Laporta's the best tight end in the NFL.
Right now he is. I think Warren's on a track to be the best tight end in the NFL.
Well, you better think that because you're claiming that Warren's better than the best tight end in the NFL, which seems like a reach to me. I can't argue against your hypotheticals, though. I can't do that.
So
you're throwing a hypothetical out there. I'm just going by what you said on your own, which is Laporta's the best tight end in the NFL.
Currently,
which is it? Is Warren better than Laporta?
We'll find out when they get the NFL. But
yeah,
I think Warren's body of work in college, what he did this year, is better than any year Laporta had.
Well, that's a complicated conversation because you don't.
Warren got Heisman votes.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, it gets complicated stats because you don't know how much they're going at.
Well, the offense for Iowa was bad.
Right. So stats.
No, just the way they use Warren, though. I've never seen a tight end featured like that.
I like him.
He was their number one guy. Before we punch each other out here, let's go to headline 5. That energy drink got you going. Headline 5, odds and ends, but we're going to start it out with Mega Hoops game in PBA on Saturday. UCLA, Nebraska on Fox.
1 p.m.
1 p.m. game.
How hot is the gym going to be?
Well, tickets are expensive. I mean, this is a hot ticket.
It's a big game for Fred. I mean, of course it's a big game. It's big in part because their schedule upcoming is really hard, and you got to win these home games. And this is a tough one. Robin said the other day, Nebraska was a 1-point favorite. It's like a toss-up game at home. And the home schedule becomes incredibly important because of the Big Ten schedule such a grind.
And they need the crowd to play the students are not here, so the student section is sold to like other fans.
The crowd will be a major factor.
Oh, so you need the people that are going to be sitting in the student seats to kind of be a factor.
It's a tough environment here. Proven. I mean, Nebraska's great at home. There's a reason. And one of the reasons, they're a very good team. And they've had good teams here recently, but that environment's really hard for an opposing team. Really hard. I've seen head coach after head coach, Matt Painter, Izzo, walk into that interview room and say that environment's incredible, and it is when it's really rolling. It's tough.
Last year, just when Tominaga would hit shots, just how crazy when he'd go on like a little 9-0 run.
Oh, it was crazy. So yeah, this is a gigantic game. It's going to be fun. Football season's over. Now here we are.
You'll be there. I'll be there.
Oh yeah. Rob will be there. Big Horse will be
Carter.
there. Carter will be there. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Well, yeah, Nebraska, big one. A couple of other odds and ends things. I wanted to hit on some of the other bowl games too. The playoffs. How about Arizona State? I mean, pick 16th out of 16 teams in the Big 12.
3-9 last year.
And I'm guessing they don't have a very high-paid NIL roster.
I don't know that.
I know that because they're in the Big 12. Big 12 teams like that pick 16th.
I've seen Dillingham literally at press conferences asking for money.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. Like they're not in the Big 10 or the SEC, and they went in there and out schemed and out hustled Texas for a lot of that game.
For a lot of the game, I wanted. You don't know this about me, I don't think, but I'm a big blue blood guy. I love blue bloods. I don't like the
cute stories.
No, the blue bloods have earned that status over a period of time. The Johnny-come-latelys are sort of annoying to me, and Arizona State is sort of annoying, except watching them, they're real. And it's not just Scadaboo, and it's not just Sam Levitt. They are good up front. They have an excellent defensive back named Shamari Simmons, who came in the second half after being suspended the first half because of targeting the previous game. He'd start anywhere in the country and be a star. I don't know what happened, how they transformed so quickly, but that's not a fluke. They're good. I mean, I don't know what to say about
Cam Scadaboo.
How does that happen so fast, though?
Well, and then Cam Scadaboo, like if he had another year of eligibility, can you imagine next year the hype he'd have?
He's a monster. I'd take him over Genty. I watched them both back to back. Genty against Penn State, Scadaboo against Texas. I like Scadaboo better.
Scadaboo's style of running is transferable. Like it works because he's so low.
Genty is too. Now I don't think Genty's a great running back, but Scadaboo's lower, a little. His center of gravity is a little lower. He's tenacious. His leg drive is incredible, as is Genty's.
Could he stay healthy though in like a 9-game Big Ten schedule with that style?
It's a really good question.
I mean, it's a hypothetical, and I know.
No, it's a really good question.
But like doing that 9 Big Ten games would be hard.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But it's same with Genty. Now they're both physical backs, but God, he's good. I want now in that game we're talking about, the Texas game, I think he ran for 143, and he had 99 yards receiving. He had a big 62-yard catch, which I thought he pushed off, but it happens. And he made a great catch.
Then the guy ripped his head off.
Yeah, ripped his helmet off. Scadaboo, it's just, I can't emphasize enough. Low man wins. He's the low man. He runs so low, and then when he gets into contact, he gets lower. It's hard to get him. So
was it a targeting though
okay? That's a yes. It was. The people know what we're talking about late in the game. Here's my take on it. It's not a great take. You're not going to like it, but this is my take. It was absolutely targeting, but I don't want that flag thrown. I don't want a game decided by a terrible rule, a rule that you never know. You never really know how they're going to judge it. It's a horrible rule right now. And I don't want that game decided.
The on-field refs don't make that call. It's in a booth somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's funny, all these booth experts that like work for the networks, everybody to a man said it was a target.
It was targeting.
And then they called, but you're right.
But I don't want it. I don't want that. I don't want a flawed rule to
it's kind of like
a game.
The Chiefs, how they won the Super Bowl on a PI call. Remember that?
Yeah. People are going to be mad by that take because they're going to say, no, you have to, if you judge it to be targeting, Sipple, then the flag's got to be thrown.
But it was helmet to helmet.
It was targeting. I hate it. I was watching the game. I wanted Texas to win because I'm a blue blood guy. And I thought, oh, they're going to get screwed. They're going to get screwed out of this win by this targeting, this very flawed targeting rule that's in place in college football. So I was glad they didn't. I was glad they ate the flag. I thought that was the right.
It's kind of like an NBA when they swallow the whistle on the final shot.
Now, coaches will say you can't swallow the whistle. It's got to be called uniformly. Doesn't matter. Situation shouldn't matter.
Though, who gets in the ear of the replay booth guy?
I'd like to think nobody, Sean.
Like I go back
Who
to
do you think who do you think's getting in his ear? Sankey to Petiti? Who is
somebody to somebody. Like
I hope not.
well, how about
That's really conspiracy theory there.
do you think just one guy alone made that call?
I don't know.
I mean, yeah, let the like how would ESPN react if Notre Dame beats Georgia, which we were taping the show before kickoff, and then Texas is out and there's no SEC teams in the Final Four?
I mean, I'd like to think that that's just the organic. It happened organically, and that's the way it is. I'd like to think that's the way that flag decision was made organically. It's weird though. I was shocked that they didn't call it targeting. Shocked, pleasantly surprised. I don't want that game decided that way. And Arizona State probably would have won if that flag's thrown.
Yeah, because they could have basically run Scattaboo and kicked the field goal.
Right. Exactly.
It would have taken it, I believe, across midfield. And they
yes, it would have.
And they would have needed maybe 10 more yards to get a good kick.
Yeah. It was a huge, huge moment. I'm glad you raised it because I mean, it gave me an opportunity to voice a very unpopular take. I mean, I think people will not like that, but I don't want that. I don't want that flag to. I don't want a flag in that situation to determine.
I don't know. I'm assuming there was probably a pool reporter quote on that somewhere.
Maybe, probably.
And a pool reporter, what that means is one member of the media gets to go to the refs to get a comment on that.
Sean, I'm not going to let you off the hook here. Are you throwing that flag?
I thought it was a targeting.
What, are you throwing the flag?
Yes.
Really?
Because I've seen guys be ejected from games for the last 10 years on that. Like, think about Nate Geary against UCLA. Like one of the first real bad.
I know.
We've
I remember
seen
that.
So many bad ones.
I know it. Flawed rule. Flawed.
I just think they need to just eliminate the ejection part of the rule and just make it a 15-yarder like the NFL does.
Yeah, the problem with the rule, part of the problem with is you got to kind of judge if it was willfully, if there was a willful act of violence, I guess. And it wasn't. This was just boom, 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 boom. They happened to make head-to-head contact. That happens. It's just a boom, boom play. I hate to penalize defenders for that. When he was just trying to make a play, he wasn't trying to hurt him. It happens so quickly that you can't get your head out of the way sometimes. That's where I'm coming from.
All right. Well, lots of football still ahead of us and lots of transfer portal news. So make sure you go to HuskerOnline.com. Try us out. Get your first 7 days for $1 at HuskerOnline.com. It's the best deal you're going to get right now. Check us out. And Steve Sipple will be at the basketball game Saturday. Robin Washett, our whole team. And again, we'll have full coverage of the transfer portal as well. For Steve Sipple, I'm Sean Callahan signing off here for Husker Online Headlines.